What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Film Jump with Jesse and Chris. Today we have a very special episode for you. Got some awesome news. We're going to be talking about Jurassic World 7.
Yeah, Jurassic
Park
7.
7.
Jurassic something.
Jurassic World 4?
Yeah, so Universal is evidently fast-tracking the next Jurassic Saga film. And fast-tracking it in a sense of they possibly want to enter production by the end of this year, potentially for a 2025 release, which would be wild.
That's crazy.
The big element in terms of, well, who's making it, what are they doing, is that David Koepp, who wrote the first two Jurassic Park films, is on board the screenplay. And, you know, he's also famously wrote the screenplay for the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. He wrote and directed Secret Window. He wrote Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. He's a very sort of like great at structure, great at the fundamentals sort of screenwriter. And so he's a perfect fit. I think Indiana Jones 4 was also him. He's a perfect fit for these kind of blockbusters. He's just kind of got that formula down that works. You know, nothing too complex or innovative, but just hits the beats you want to hit. And him returning to this franchise is exciting. The first thing that came to my mind was like, why couldn't they have gotten him for any of the Jurassic World trilogy? You know?
Right.
But
he's also famous for playing, well, I don't want to say famous, but he notoriously played a character by Unlucky Bastard in The Lost World Jurassic Park, where Buck the T-Rex is roaming through, the States, and the dude tries to run away, and he gets eaten as he's trying to run inside the store, and he's
San
like,
Diego.
Yeah, in San Diego, and he's like,
Michael Crichton gets eaten by the T-Rex as a cameo.
No, that's David Koepp.
Oh, I said Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
I keep. Michael Crichton wrote the book. David Koepp wrote the screenplay. Sorry. That's definitely a good thing. You know, him being on the screenplay. Well, I'm interested in whatever he's got. Kind of makes me think that he almost came to them with a pitch for something.
Yeah, I guess.
And they were like, wow, let's hit the go button on this immediately.
They're apparently fast-tracking it. This is moving forward rather quickly.
Yeah. It's apparently going to be set in the era of the Jurassic World movies, which even isn't that specific because they covered years and years.
Right.
So is this just before the first Jurassic World? Is it between 1 and 2? Is it between 2 and 3? Is it after 3? So it could be anywhere and telling any kind of one-off story, but it's not going to be called Jurassic World, evidently. It's going to be given some other Jurassic insert word title, which is cool because it's a fresh start that's not going to feel like an ongoing thing. I don't think it's going to make people feel like they have to watch all 6 movies just in the same way that Jurassic World, as long as you had a recognition of the original, you didn't really need to know 2 and 3 very well.
Apparently it's not a reboot, and it's still a continuation of the universe, but it is like a fresh start.
Yeah, it's an entry in the same continuity. It's not like wiping anything from the canon, but if there are maybe some entries that you don't like, perhaps like with Jurassic World, where you could kind of ignore 2 and 3 if you wanted, perhaps people that didn't love the Jurassic World movies, maybe there's 1 or 2 of those that you could choose to kind of skip over and just jump to this movie. Maybe it'll have a kind of prologue opening title sequence that completely fills you in if you only know the original Jurassic Park. You know, maybe it's being designed to operate in a way where it's not contingent upon, knowing the franchise or seeing the other entries, which might be a good idea to keep it fresh and available for new fans to enter in.
So there's no director attached. There's not even really anything else out there other than David Koepp returning to write, and that he's pretty close to being done with it, I think is what they said. Or he's like right in the middle of it, something like that. So who are we hopeful? Well, who are some cool directors out there that would just cook?
Yeah.
I'll go first because I tweeted about this already. So in my mind, look, this would be a weird choice. I'll start with the weird one first, is have J.A. Bayona return. Probably not going to happen. He directed Fallen Kingdom. A lot of people don't like that one.
It's divisive.
But that's because of the writing. His directing is immaculate. And he directed A Monster Calls, and more recently Society of the Snow.
Yeah.
He is a very, very awesome director.
Yeah. That doesn't feel super likely, but it's one of those where it's like it could really kind of work. Maybe.
Right. A couple other ones this one won't happen either, but it would be probably my number one would be Matt Reeves, based on what he did with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War. I think
he's busy with Batman 2, Batman 2, so who knows? Who knows? Maybe James Gunn's going to cancel that and it's all going to collapse. And
I don't know.
Who knows?
Probably not.
There's no telling.
Those two are not likely. I definitely admit. But here's my other ones. Dan Trachtenberg,
Okay.
or Trachtenberg, however you say it,
Famously directed 10 Cloverfield Lane.
and Prey,
Okay.
the prequel to Predator,
Solid.
which is really good.
Yeah.
I think he's got a great eye for the thriller mystery
Creature feature kind of a guy.
Yeah. And then I think actually John Krasinski would be really
Would be off The Quiet Place, graduating up into the Jurassic.
Especially with the beginning sequence of A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yeah.
If you translate that, just put a raptor instead of the alien creatures, you got yourself a great Jurassic movie.
I have no bearing of schedules and projects and whatnot on my mind, but something that came to my mind would have been Guillermo del Toro would be a solid one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he shoots his films 185, 16:9. That's the original Jurassic Park trilogy was filmed that way. We love the 16:9 here at the Film Jump.
Yeah, 16:9 master race.
Yeah, so Guillermo del Toro would at least do that. He's got an eye for like the gothic kind of style and things like that.
I think he's busy doing Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's cooking up some other stuff with Netflix. So again, we're just throwing out names that sound
What
good.
What about Wes Ball?
Oh, if the new Apes movie gets a very positive reception and they don't hook him in for a trilogy, I could see him being picked. You know, the Apes movies and the Jurassic movies feel just sort of like cousins in a little bit of a way. One thing that's kind of interesting to me in terms of, they haven't gone into what sort of scope or scale this is, but something has me thinking that, you know, David Koepp wrote the original, which was sort of this kind of isolated incident thriller sort of dinosaur film. It's on an island, limited cast, and they seem to want to be moving very fast and be confident that they could move this very fast. And so that might make me think that, did he pitch something sort of in that vein where it's this kind of an island or an encampment or a facility with a sort of 5 to 10 limited character count, a sort of isolated incident, 1 to 5 dinosaurs, like a very small scale, but horror, thriller, sci-fi, action kind of, not a huge world-ending thing, not armies of dinosaurs, but just a really great sort of, you know, in a pressure cooker kind of dinosaur thriller that was just such a great screenplay that they were like, we can push go on this, and it's not going to cost nearly as much as the last couple, and we just have some great opportunities to make a great dinosaur movie.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's of that scale. Maybe it allows a fast tracking. Maybe it can be made quickly.
I would love to see a scaled back, smaller, more visceral and scary Jurassic movie.
Yeah.
Almost, you know, if anybody remembers the old kind of C movie classics, Carnosaurs, the Carnosaur series. They're ridiculous, they're stupid, but they had like this weird sea level.
Yeah, you know,
they were copying Jurassic and Aliens, basically.
And we're huge fans of things, the sort of children of Jurassic and Aliens. You know, things like Deep Blue Sea. You know, where it's sort of, I love that sort of, it's a facility with people and there's a creature that's also very alien. You know, I just like that. And some of the memorable scenes of the original Jurassic Park are some of the dialogue scenes that characters have when they're sort of just in a room alone, surviving for a few minutes or away from the dinosaurs for a few minutes. So if we could get a movie that's full of sort of scared people fighting for their lives, having these more ponderous and interesting conversations about dinosaurs and cloning and this and man and nature and this and that, within the midst of, there's 2 to 3, 4 dinosaurs in the facility or on the camp or what have you, taking us out one by one. It could be a great sort of PG-13 thriller for all ages.
Right. And here's the thing, you could make I use air quotes, lower budget, again, like 100 million or less.
That's what
and
I was
do something
gonna
like
say,
that,
you know.
and it'd be a relatively safe bet, because Jurassic World Dominion, not a great movie,
Still made $1
billion, and it probably would have made a lot more had it been a good movie.
Yeah, had it been great, you know. The Jurassic films average $1 billion apiece. There's 6 films, they average $1 billion apiece. I think that's the highest average for
any franchise,
for a film franchise in terms of the average of each entry. I think the Jurassic films win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's if you don't do things like just counting the Avengers movies. It's like, you can't do that. That's not, they're part of a larger franchise.
Yeah.
So there it goes. But so, yeah, imagine if instead of a $200 million crazy wild Jurassic World Dominion blockbuster, you have $100 million, you know, more controlled. You know, take the mindset that Gareth Edwards, who would also be a great director for this film.
I also tweeted him. Gareth Edwards would be awesome.
Take the mindset that he brought to the creator and give him a great David Koepp screenplay for a Jurassic movie. And that's
a winning combo.
That might be perfect hand in glove, because it's like, Gareth Edwards needs his next film.
And his scaling.
He's talented.
He can do scale so well.
He builds suspense and reveals so well, and he knows how to budget right. Oh my gosh, like
that would be good.
Right now, I feel like that's kind of like the best one that's come out of this conversation would maybe be.
And his creator is just nominated right now for best visual effects and best sound. Those are two things that are almost key to a Jurassic franchise.
Absolutely. I feel like he would be all in terms of really mixing the CGI and practical effects and doing a lot with both and kind of blurring that line and blending it. I think he would deliver something really, really good.
So, real quick, he was supposed to retire with his last movie, but actually announced he was not retiring, and has now got his 500th Academy Award nomination. But
yeah, I think he has.
Imagine?
I think he has as many nominations.
Can you imagine if John Williams comes back for one last Jurassic?
That would be beautiful.
That would be a good beautiful.
Yeah. Get Steve.
Steven
could you imagine if Steven Spielberg directed it? I mean, we didn't even consider that, but wow.
Well, here it is. I tweeted it right there on the last one. Steven Spielberg would be.
Well, because here's the thing. A lot of people felt that when Indiana Jones 5 was going to be directed by Spielberg, it's like, okay, Spielberg, Harrison Ford, John Williams, they're going to go out with this franchise that they kind of brought into the world together. Not that Spielberg or Ford were going to retire, but Williams was leaning towards retirement, and they sort of get to finish this character how they started it together. That didn't pan out. Spielberg didn't direct that film. That film was a horrible travesty. It's not Ford's fault. It's not Williams' fault. He still delivered great music, but this is another franchise that Spielberg and Williams and Kep kind of started together. And how cool would it be? Not necessarily this is the last movie, but maybe a farewell for them. Maybe this is their full circle moment where you have the Jurassic Park movie at the beginning, this Jurassic movie at the end, and then you have these other films that were in between.
Well, Spielberg, according to the article, is back as a producer already, at least.
So I'm sure they're like, hey man, you want to direct it?
So what about... Do you want to see another Rexy return? For me, I'm going to say no. I want a T-Rex. I don't want Rexy in there.
Yeah, we don't have to keep playing that game. It doesn't.
She's been the hero, and if we make her a bad a villain, then
I've never been the biggest fan of personifying the dinosaurs into characters. Like that's neat and fine, but
I like them animals.
I don't want to be like, oh, I'm rooting for Blue. It's like, no. How about these are humans and the dinosaurs are not our friends, and they're not anti-heroes that they're going to kill a worse dinosaur. Like, can we go back? Godzilla -1 was very successful, taking Godzilla back to being the villain roots. Like, can we go back to these dinosaurs are evil and they're absolutely going to kill us and we just have to survive and kill them if we can? That could take it back to the roots, take it back to the core,
So, next question, do we want them to be in the same, visually, the same style, or do we want more, air quote, scientifically accurate dinosaurs with feathers?
As a one-off, maybe something more. I mean, what even is scientifically accurate? Everything's an estimation and a guess, and it's revised every 5 years anyway. Maybe there could be some experimentation with things like that. Some more like the smaller raptors that are very chicken-like or something like that. And so there is opportunities to maybe experiment with that and have some one-off sequences where there's a testing lab and there's variants where they were modulating how much of the frog DNA are we putting in, how much is this pure uninterrupted dino DNA, and you could get a great sequence where you're getting these variants of the dinosaurs and have a lot of fun with it. And so I wouldn't be against it. I think you want some of the iconic Jurassic looks for these creatures because they're movie monsters in and of themselves, but I don't think anyone would be objected to trying out some other things.
So let's move on to who we might want to see as the actors, actresses in this movie. For me, there's probably no bigger fan of Chris Pratt than us. We love Chris Pratt.
But they've said they're not coming back, and I'm fine with that arc being done.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah. I want somebody not necessarily older, more mature, but somebody who might have a little bit more dramatic weight. So I tweeted out a couple of people I would love to see in a Jurassic franchise. And these are just, wishfuls. Whether or not they would ever do it, who knows?
Sure.
So I put down the always underrated Guy Pearce.
Oh, he fits. Guy Pearce would be a great one.
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba would be great.
Josh Brolin.
Oh, yeah. He's
Josh
good.
Brolin.
Yeah, that would
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt would perpetually.
The next one is not a surprise because they're just in Oppenheimer together, but Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy would be good.
Oscar Isaac would be cool. John David Washington. Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Haley Atwell. She'd be great in there, too.
Haley Atwell any day of the week.
And the, sorry if I'm butchering his name, is Hiroyuki Sanada.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah, he's got gravitas and weight.
Yeah. And he was, for anybody out there who doesn't know who that is, he was recently in John Wick 4.
Dude, put Donnie Yen in there as another
Donnie
blind
Yen,
man.
yeah.
As another blind man.
He's got his feelaways around the dinosaurs as they're sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are just like ones that when I first read this article, I'm like, man, I want to see those people. Like,
yeah, off the top of my head, it's tough. It's like because you want people. Spielberg's famous quote about the original was that he went for earnest actors that kind of that didn't feel like movie stars, but they just had like a sincerity to them. You know, it's interesting. People talk about how young Shia LaBeouf early in his career sort of delivered his kind of bumbling through dialogue way and that felt a little Goldblum-esque.
Yeah.
And now Shia LaBeouf, he's a little bit older, he's a little bit more seasoned, he's a little bit of a different guy. He could be an interesting kind of energy to bring. And like not necessarily the lead, but you could see him as like the third roll down from the top, you know, that kind of interesting
yeah, because he hasn't really been on a roll recently, so I'm sure he would even take he would even take a
he's
supporting.
worked with Spielberg before, you know.
Well, I think he probably burned that bridge. You know, with the way he came out after Transformers 3, he was like, oh, you know.
Okay, fair enough.
And he was talking crap about Indiana Jones 4 when it was cool to do so back then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, who knows? Who knows? It would be an interesting vibe. Yeah, you want people that kind of aren't really super A-list, but kind of...
Yeah, like, for example, don't think I would want Tom Cruise in there. I love Tom Cruise, but he doesn't fit.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not Tom Cruise, not your Brad Pitts or anything like that.
You?
Yeah, nothing like that. But, you know, that's tough, you know. You think of people like, well, 10 years ago, Cranston would have been cool. You know, anybody who's been in the...
he still would be cool.
Anyone in the MonsterVerse movies kind of is of that ilk, you know?
Ken Watanabe,
yeah,
he would be awesome.
Kyle Chandler would be cool. He's
Kyle
got that
Chandler,
kind of, you know. Skarsgård would be neat, you know. Alexander Skarsgård, you know, just plucking up some more MonsterVerse folks here. But yeah, there's some interesting choices.
What's his name? Kylo Ren would be, but he already...
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver,
yeah.
he'd be awesome. But unfortunately, I think he's like...
he did 65.
He was in 65, and that did not work out.
Man, he'd be a good fit for one of these kind of films.
But yeah, those are kind of some of the people like who immediately came to mind as actors who are very famous in their own right. Like they're all household names at this point, but would still bring that weight.
Put your guy Henry Cavill in there.
Oh, Henry Cavill.
Yeah, because he's stardom, but he's not like, you know, he could be that kind of hero, but he's also got legitimate acting.
Yeah.
Fred and whatnot. He could be kind of character actor-ish without just being like the hunk, you know. So Henry Cavill would be good, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we're just thinking of like kind of like the bigger people right now, but those are all good choices in my opinion.
Would be fun. Can't go wrong with any of those.
So, but yeah, what final thoughts on this whole thing? I'm super excited. The fact that
we have such a blank slate at this moment that I can only just see the way that it could go good. It can go sideways a million ways to Sunday. Totally could happen. Can't trust Hollywood, but I like to think that Universal has a bit better of a beat on these things than a lot of these other studios.
I think they learned their lessons from what they... each Jurassic entry declined several $100 million.
Yeah, and, I think Spielberg kind of knows what's up. I think David Koepp knows what's up. The fact that they're fast-tracking it, it sounds to me like it's the kind of thing where Koepp delivered a treatment or a screenplay, and they were like, damn, this is like, yes, go now.
Yeah.
And so... something tells me that it's moving forward so fast on the strength of the screenplay, which is good.
Yeah, typically when you hear announcements like this, it's like, okay, we're going to maybe shoot for a 26.
Yeah, and
maybe
they announce a director maybe, and they don't have anything.
I bet you. I mean, they were shooting for production start and Q3, Q4 of this year. Mm-hmm. I bet by the summer we're going to find out who's attached to this movie in some capacity.
Yeah, they want to fast track it, they'll fast track it.
So, all right, well, I'm super hopeful. Yeah. Let us know what you guys think.
I'm optimistic until we have a reason to not be optimistic.
Yeah, of course. You know? Let us know what you think. Are you excited for another Jurassic movie, or are you done with this franchise? I think you should give it a chance, but we'll see what happens. Cautiously optimistic.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Have a good one, everyone.